Hey there, what is going on? Welcome on back to the deeper dive. It is your host, Luke, and today I wanted to talk specifically about RWAs. If you are unfamiliar with RWAs, RWA stands for real world assets. To do with crypto, this is assets that are tokenized from the real world. Examples of this are listed on the left-hand side here under the asset classes, with currently the most notorious RWA in the space that many don't refer to as an RWA, although it is, which is stablecoins. So many of you know about stablecoins and the significant impact that they have made already within the crypto space. So I think what I'm about to tell you will not be extremely difficult to understand, although I think it's something that many are skimming over and not looking at, which is where I'm currently seeing a massive growth opportunity, which means there's a massive investment opportunity for us. You can see under the asset classes, we have US treasuries, global bonds, private credit, commodities, institutional funds, and stocks. And just to start off, I wanted to share this site with you guys, which is RWA.XYZ, which is tracking the global RWA market as a whole, including the total RWA on chain. So this site is very helpful for tracking these analytics. And there's a few different things that I wanted to point out. They have this chart showing the RWAs across all of their time, starting back in 2018 with institutional alternative funds. On this chart, you are also able to click this and include stablecoins, and we can see, including stablecoins, we have over $200 billion in value in terms of RWAs. Although, let's exclude those for the current moment and talk about the assets outside of those, including stablecoins. As I say in this post on my X, at LukeTDD, make sure to follow me there if you are not already. What if I told you there was a guaranteed 1000x play? Well, that play is real world assets. Since 2020, the amount of tokenized assets has done over 400x in growth. And I can show you this looking at the first of 2020. We can see that there were $56.9 million in RWAs excluding stablecoins. Looking at the current day, we have $24.5 billion in RWAs on chain, which, as I say, represents growth of over 400x in just 5 years. The best part, regulations were rather strange throughout this time. Many of the people issuing these tokens don't even have the licensing to do so, which does lead to regulatory implications that are unhealthy for businesses and institutions looking to deal with these RWAs. Although for the sake of the video, let's assume that all of this value is regulatory compliant, which means that we would have 24.5 billion in terms of assets that are tokenized on chain. But where am I going with this? Well, taking the look at this broader space, we know that we have this 24.5 billion RWA on chain. Although, how many of you know of a company dealing with RWAs specifically that have a utility token that is going to derive value from these RWAs? That is the question. And I asked that in this post. How many utility tokens deal with RWAs specifically? Who's made massive gains on their RWA utility token within this RWA market? Which significant players have marked themselves as the RWA kings? I would say that there's many people dealing in tokenization, but they haven't made significant strides in this market yet. And I think that's clear based on the amount of tokenized value on chain only sitting at 24.5 billion, in contrast to our total crypto market cap sitting at over $2 trillion. And like I say, I think many of these questions are still to be answered. And that is the best part. The amount of tokenized assets will still do an 1000x from here, meaning that there is a market to capitalize on. And the reality is there is no limit to tokenization. We can continue to tokenize assets that are in the real world forever, essentially. There will always be more, and this is the way that it will go. So the next goal is finding the companies that are making a significant impact on the RWA market. And as I say, RWAs are the next big boom, and I promise you that. I go on in another post. If you remember the NFT boom, think RWAs. The next alt season will be the start of a very similar boom. And as I say beneath that, we haven't seen an alt season that truly shows recognition for RWA utility tokens. As I said here, even taking a look at the Bitcoin real yield product from at IXS Finance, in which institutions can offer their Bitcoin for yield by investing in RWAs and then receiving stablecoins in terms of that yield, this is a massive shift. This is exactly what people in the crypto space have been waiting for. Multiple crypto specific assets being utilized in unison. This is what we have been wanting. But I understand, you may say, where is your proof that this space is going to do an 1000x from here? Well, let's take a look at what the WEF, the World Economic Forum, said about tokenization. Quote unquote, the WEF estimates that $867 trillion of value is ready to be disrupted by tokenization, with use cases not limited solely to financial assets. So boom, there is the facts. Big players estimate that almost all of the value that could be tokenized will be tokenized eventually. And this will be across a larger shift. During the next 20 years, we will see more and more assets come on chain. Although we will be living in two different worlds. There will still be assets that are not tokenized, and likewise, there will be assets that are solely tokenized. Although I do believe that we are at that point where we will see across the next 10 to 20 years the intersection where we go into a point where they are all tokenized. So yes, we are very, very early, but with that, we have the advantage of investing in the technology that will be used to distribute these RWAs to millions of users. But I'm not saying this from a standpoint that others don't believe as well. You can look up estimates for tokenization by 2030. Many large players are expecting $4 to $30 trillion in RWAs by 2030. So that's massive right there, and that's within the next 5 to 6 years. So I think the question of can this space do an 1000x, I think this space can do a 10,000x. Will it happen overnight? Not necessarily, but finding those key players who are going to make a big difference in this market is absolutely going to be an advantageous position for you. And before I get into this next part, I would like to mention that none of this is financial advice, and I do recommend you do your own research, but what I am telling you about RWAs is absolutely the truth. When it comes to the tokens that I talk about, you need to invest on your own risk. This is a very difficult space to win in, and I'd like to remind everyone that most people do lose money in the markets. So if you're going to do anything, be smart, have a long-term plan, and have a long-term goal. But with that being said, I would like to say this as well. Many people saw that Robinhood had an announcement in terms of tokenized stocks, while in reality, these stocks are wrapped, and there's large differences between what Robinhood announced and what IXS Finance is doing. With the Robinhood trading for these tokenized quote-unquote stocks, you don't actually own the underlying share. With IXS Finance, if you invest in something like that, you invest in a company through their platform, you invest in a fund, you own a percent of that asset. So that is a big difference. The actual ownership is the massive difference there. And as I said, if you think the Robinhood announcement was big, wait to hear about the 5 confirmed distribution partners for IXS Finance. Now, I understand it may be hard to grasp exactly what a distribution partner is, so let me explain. An institution or an exchange or a fintech that would like to offer RWAs to people on their own platforms can integrate IXS Finance all into their own user interface. So say this was your typical exchange app or a typical banking app. They can integrate the products from IXS Finance onto their own platform, and then people within their platform can go and invest in those assets without even knowing that they are interacting with IXS at all. And this is why I call IXS an RWA king. And with that, on a final note, I'd like to play this video for you guys of Julian Kwan, the CEO of IXS, talking about many of the things that I just spoke about. I think there's some very valuable information in here, so I do recommend you pay attention and listen in, maybe even listen to it twice. I'll go ahead and play this for you guys now.
I think IXS is the RWA token that aligns with Bitcoin. There are no others up there. That, I think, is one of the most key unique elements of our project and the token. As BTC grows in volume, as will BTC real yield, as will IXS. We're seeing Crypto.com, Coinbase is one of our investors looking to add, and all the leading crypto exchanges looking to add RWA assets to their platforms. Of course, they need licensed infrastructure partners, which is where we step in. We've got two of the most valuable partnerships in the RWA industry globally. We have a joint venture with 4 regulated crypto exchanges in Asia to distribute RWA to their 25 million KYC users. A tokenized share can now essentially be distributed even just through our business into this 250 million person network, and we're just getting started. We can issue any type of RWA token that we like. We've already issued many. We can provide all of our services to cryptocurrency exchanges, power the back end, which we're starting to do. So our license, our origination, our RWA tokens, millions of users on the front end of the exchange, or from a fintech. As we grow this, we want to be the RWA partner, preferred partner to all the leading fintech companies around the world, the Robinhoods of this world, the Grab Finances, the Ant Finances, etc., interactive brokers from the TradFi side. And then from the DeFi side, we want to do the same thing. Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, Bybit. We will continue to deliver world-class RWA products. And these partnerships, these B2B focus for us, it's highly synergistic. Who's got millions and 10 millions and sometimes hundreds of millions of users that want to sell RWA? Their users are demanding this, but they don't have the technical licenses, or they don't have the licenses. Where are they going to go? How do they do this without lining up for 4 or 5 years? Okay, come work with us. We'll plug in tomorrow. There you go.
So as you heard there was a lot of good stuff, but even touching back on what I was talking about in terms of the 5 confirmed distribution partners for IXS, we heard Julian say how they can power the backend without the users even knowing. I'm pleading to you guys to look into IXS and really try to understand what they are doing, because I do think they are going to be an absolutely massive player within the RWA market. There definitely is others who are targeting this market, but I honestly have not seen anyone doing it like IXS. IXS is trying to bring the institutions to the users and the users to the institutions. And when I found out about them, I absolutely knew that their vision was exactly what this space needed. With that being said, if you guys have any thoughts about RWAs, please do let me know. I'm going to start posting 1 time a week about different things. So I'll have a Velo video, I'll have an IXS video, I'll have an XRP video, and maybe even some days I'll do an RWA specific video, and I'll ask you guys for different assets to talk about so I have more content for you guys. With that being said, please do drop your comments down below, hit the like button, subscribe, let me know what you think about any of this. I would love to hear your guys' feedback. I'm very excited and very bullish on this space. I do think that by 2030, RWA on chain will be at least $1 trillion. So we will see if that happens. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.